Hi, Andre. We are
Hi,
live.
Emily.
We are live streaming, but we're just going to wait for everybody to show. But you're all logged in.
I'm all logged in. Thank you. I'll pull up the agenda, or I mean, while we're
We're
talking, I
live. We're
can.
live streaming. Yeah, we are live streaming.
Okay, so I'll.
So you can just mute yourself or turn your video off until we get going.
Okay,
Um, but and pull up all your stuff in the meantime.
okay.
Just waiting for everybody to join. See you there, Mark. Sit tight, and we'll wait for everybody else. Hi, Eric. We're just waiting for the rest of the crew. We are live streaming. So we're just sitting tight until everybody joins. Okay.
Sorry, just trying to make sure everything still works.
Yeah. I think there's some people here who thought this was a Teams meeting, and our calendars automatically do that. So who are view and add participants? Ori Gardy. Okay. I don't want him. I'm going to send him an email. Hi, Tori. Just waiting for everybody else to join.
Okay, hello.
We are live on YouTube. Just again waiting for the rest of the team to join. I think there was some confusion with the forum of the meeting. It is on Zoom, not Teams. Our calendars automatically load Teams, so apologize for that for anyone who got confused. Hi, Donna.
Hello, Emily.
We are live streaming on YouTube.
Thank
With
you.
you here, we do have a quorum. We are still waiting on possibly Councillor Gardy as well as possibly Andrew Judge. Oh, there's Andrew. So we do have quorum, and we can begin when you are ready.
Okay. So it's 12:02. I will call the meeting to order. Because of the, well, actually, hold on. Let me do something else first. I acknowledge with respect that we are on Robinson Huron Treaty territory and that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Wawating. Wawating is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. Next item on our agenda is to adopt the minutes of our last meeting, which was February 6th, 2024. Could I have someone to move and to second those minutes? Looking for a mover. Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Andre. Any questions, concerns, additions, deletions, changes? Seeing none, all in favor? And I'm going to ask that if at all possible, you could definitely respond in some way here if you do not have your camera on and I cannot see what your response is. Thank you. All right. Declaration of pecuniary interest today. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest that have not already been declared? We will discuss those of you who have declared that as part of your reading and scoring of the Green Fund application. So we do have that information. Emily, maybe could you just briefly read those, and that way anybody who has something to change or add could be done.
Read the declaration that have come in.
Yeah. Yes, just so I know that, for example, there are 2 or 3 members of the committee that have declared conflicts on one or more of the applications. So is that handy for you to be able to see? Okay, if you could just share that, and then if there's any additions or changes to that, then we'll ask those present to acknowledge that.
Okay, so we had a declaration from Nairi Rubal regarding the Green Initiatives Fund application for the Sioux Search and Rescue electric bike project funding request. She is a part owner of Belarusian, where the proposed equipment is being suggested to be purchased from. The second declaration came from Dr. Andrew Judge regarding the Nordic Institute Shoreline Cleanup Project. Dr. Judge knows the applicant personally and has published with her. Those are the conflicts that I am aware of that have been sent to me.
Okay. Anything in addition to those conflicts? Seeing none. And for everyone's benefit, if anyone who had a conflict on an application did not score that application, and anyone who had a conflict cannot participate in the discussion on those applications, or in the approval of the funding for those applications, for clarity for everyone. All right, moving on. Adoption of today's agenda. Mover and a seconder, please. Everything on our agenda today. Thank you, Mark. And I need a seconder, please. Thank you, Andre. Any additions to today's agenda? We currently have just the Green Fund application review and approvals. Seeing none, all in favor of today's agenda? That is carried. All right, thank you very much. Okay, so sorry, I'm juggling documents here. fantastic. Moving on to these applications, absolutely fantastic. Thank you to the community for looking for opportunities to be able to help us achieve our net zero goal by 2050 by looking for projects that you and your organizations, et cetera, can be working on to help achieve those goals. We have 8 applications to consider from our first intake from 2020. What year is this? 2024. So that is fantastic news, and we hope that the interest and excitement about this fund and accessing this fund continues, and hopefully in future years we'll be able to grow the amount of dollars in the fund so that as a community we're able to fund additional projects that are going to help achieve the goal. The process for today will be thank you all of you who read and scored the applications. I know that it's a lot of work, and we certainly do appreciate it, but what it does give us is an overall look at how everyone scored each application under the 4 categories of their environmental sustainability merit, the impact on the community, the financial analysis information, and innovation or project collaboration. So each, and I'm sharing this as well for members of the public who may be listening, each of these applications was individually and privately scored by the members of the committee, and those scores were compiled to create the results that we're going to look at today. The purpose of today is to have a general review together of each application, to address any, first of all, questions that you may have subsequent to your reading of the application, or that come up because of some of the comments that you're going to see that members shared. So there'll be a time for questions, and then there will be a time for any further comments that you would like to make. We will review each of the 8 applications individually and note any comments at the time with regards to the amount that potentially could we'd like to see awarded to these projects. The amount of the projects that have been submitted to us exceeds the annual amount of $50,000 for this fund. So it will be impossible to fully fund. If I could ask whoever has their speaker.
I think it was Andre.
on.
I muted him.
Okay. No.
I muted you, Andre. So just stay mute for now. There we
Okay.
go.
I could still, okay, because I thought I could still hear something. So it's not possible to fully fund all of the projects. There are recommendations to partially fund or not fully, whatever. We'll get into all of that, but Emily will take you through a summary of the project. I will call for any questions that come up as of where we are today. I will then call for any comments that you have. From that feedback, we'll move on, or after that feedback, we'll move on and we'll cover all 8, and then we're going to go back and let's see where we end up in terms of how we want to make these awards of the funding. Any questions with regards to that or concerns? Okay, seeing none, let's proceed. Emily is going to share her screen with all of us, actually, and Emily will do the sharing of the information, and away we go. Emily will also explain to you how the averages and the scores were calculated, just so you're aware what they mean.
Okay, so can everyone see my screen with the Word document on it?
Yes, I can.
Okay, very good. Is it big enough? Do you need me to make it bigger?
It's perfect. Great. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. All right. So as Donna mentioned, we received 8 applications for the Green Initiatives Fund for our first intake, which I got to say is probably a record. So what I've done is I've summarized the scores from committee members who submitted scores, and it's sorted from the highest score to the lowest score. As Donna mentioned, there's 4 categories that we created for evaluating the applications. So the average score out of 5 by the total scores received for each category and project is listed here. So environmental sustainability, community impact, financial analysis, project innovation. And then we created a percentage score. So that's the sum of all the scores, the total number, divided by a max score of 120. However, that max score was amended when there were conflicts or no scores at all. And so there were 2 of those where that happened, and they've been noted below here. And then we calculated a project average. So this is the sum of the averages divided by 4. And again, based on the fact that this scoring matrix is from 1, which is poor, to 5, you can see that on the far right column here. So again, this was based on the scores. What we're going to do now is go through each project one by one, remind you what they asked, provide a summary, and also share any comments that were received. They've been provided anonymously, and go from there. So before I skip to the first project, does anyone have any questions?
Not seeing any there, Emily.
Okay, I just saw an email from Councillor Gardy. He won't be able to attend. All right, so here we go. So the first project, and you'll have to bear with me, I'm going to have to scroll here a little bit, was from the Nordic Institute for a shoreline cleanup. This project is requesting funding for the cleanup. They provided context about another project that they received funding for, the Great Lakes Action Fund in 2022, to engage with members from Missinaba Cree First Nation and stakeholders in Sault Ste. Marie to monitor quality of water in each territory and region. Missinaba Cree First Nations monitoring activities started last year and are continuing this year. Sault Ste. Marie monitoring activities started this year include 18 sites across the city. They are hosting a series of Sioux activities, and they actually participated in the Science Festival last month. And they're committed as part of their project to host one shoreline cleanup, to engage with the public and bring awareness about local waters, recruit additional volunteers. However, the cost of the cleanup was not covered by their original grant from the Great Lakes Action Fund. And so they are requesting funding from the Green Initiatives Fund to purchase supplies and small gifts, patches and stickers for up to 100 cleanup volunteers, 5 additional water monitoring kits that could be used by trained volunteers to collect water quality sites around the city, printing of postcards, and eDNA kits specific to freshwater mussels and clams. There's more information in their application, but that was just my snapshot of the scope. So again, their score summary is as follows: 4.6 out of 5 for environmental sustainability average score, community impact 4.6, financial analysis 3.6, project innovation 4.2. And a project average of 4.3 with a score percentage of 85%. So these are some of the comments that we received from ESC members. Some members were full support of funding. There's a comment here about funding certain items, specifically the test kit and the eDNA kits, but not the rest given our limited budget. And that's the summary of that project there. So we'd like to open up the floor for any questions about the project, and then we'll move over to comments. Donna, did I miss anything for that one?
Nope. Does anybody have any questions about this particular application? Seeing none. Does anyone have any comments further to what you're seeing there, or would like to further expand on or discuss any of the comments. What we're definitely seeing here is that this project is well liked, but there is some concern about the components of the project that could be perhaps not funded, that would be something to discuss. So anyone want to weigh in there? Thank you, Eric. Go ahead. And then so Eric and then Mark.
Yeah, so I saw the comment there that we should fund the eDNA kits, but maybe not the rest. To be honest, I was actually kind of thinking the other way around. I kind of had some question about why we would need to ID the bivalves through eDNA, which is quite a costly way to do it. Yeah, so I mean, if we could, I don't know if they were here, I would ask them that why we couldn't ID the clams and mussels another way, and what the savings might be, and perhaps the reason they thought eDNA was the best approach is because it would save some time from actually trying to collect the mussels and clams to ID them. But that would be the part that I would be seeking clarification on, whether it was really necessary to use eDNA kits.
Emily, can you note that as
Yep.
a question, please? Because I think that that's going to be a follow-up. We'd be unable to know the answer to that without speaking to that team. But that's an interesting question. Anything else, Eric?
Sorry, can
Okay,
you clarify just again, just for my notes here, Eric, which pieces you felt like you said the other way around? Can you just confirm what that was?
Yeah, so the purchase of eDNA kits to identify the mussels and clams is one way that you could, I think the idea was to identify whether these were a particular invasive clam, but the other way to do that would be that you might be able to collect them and there might be just some visual indicators. And they in fact included some information within their kit about how to identify morphologically or based on just looking at organisms what they are, but I don't know the specifics around identifying these particular clams or mussels and why they would justify eDNA over another approach, and it's quite costly. So that's what the information, that's the clarification I would be looking for.
Got it. Okay, you got that, Em? Any other questions, Eric, or comments? No?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
Yep. So I guess I was on the opposite end, simply because I guess lack of knowledge of what exactly some of that stuff is, or is there alternative methods? So I was looking at it from a standpoint of, if we are limited somewhat on budget, do we fund the, I guess, core bits of it and start to look at, okay, well, the budget included prizes and gifts and things, that not necessarily could be out of scope of what we're trying to do for this. So it was more of, if we have a limited budget, if we take this project on as a whole, it would put us over budget. But if the project can still happen, if we fund certain portions of it that are, I guess, some of the larger budget pieces that could be a challenge to get secondary funding or funding from other places, then maybe that would help more. So things like gifts and food and prizes, people could go out to the grocery stores or other places to ask for some support with this. And that's, that's why I was suggesting maybe we should just, go that route for those kits.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
I just need to bring something else up that I just realized as I was scanning through this document. They actually have me listed as a project participant. So I'm actually not aware of this project, but I am aware of some other work they're doing that they're obviously trying to leverage for this project. So maybe you need to not take my comment. I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
In what way are you a project participant, Eric?
I'm not sure. I think that there's another project that they're running that is leveraging some lab services that we're doing, and I'm guessing that they're basically trying to leverage what they're doing here on top of this other project.
Okay, so for clarity, you are not involved in this particular project
Not that
directly? Oh, okay, okay.
this is they haven't run this by me at all. So
Okay. And of course, the option to declare a conflict is strictly your decision to make, and the criteria there is: would you positively or negatively benefit in some way from this being awarded or not awarded? So I will leave that to you to.
I think we're fine. I just want to
Okay.
point out that I just noticed that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mark. Did you have other? You've shared your comments there. Did you have other comments that you'd like to make?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. Does anyone else have a comment on this particular agenda or this particular application? Okay, so I would say that with this application, we're going to be without being able to respond to Eric's question and have further information. This might have to be set aside until we are able to get the answer to that question. And we will move on, I think, right, Em?
Yep.
We'll move on.
Sorry,
Okay, great.
can I interject then? If you're going to go back to them with questions, can you ask them about that? Will they continue on if we only fund a portion of it?
Yes, we'll add that to the question.
Okay.
I know in the past we've had proponents of projects be at our meetings in order to address things that come up. However, with 8 applications and 90 minutes, it's just simply not possible from a time perspective. So, food for thought for next time. All right, moving on. Emily, next project.
Okay, so the next project here came from the Invasive Species Center. Project title is their Himalayan Community Management Project 2.0. Their request is $6,416.19. The project summary is as follows. They are seeking funding to support the second year of a community Himalayan balsam community invasive species pull and education campaign. This is the second year that they will see continued collaboration between the Invasive Species Center and multiple local environmental organizations to build up the coordinated response to tackle the growing Himalayan balsam invasive species populations in Sault Ste. Marie. The project seeks to apply and improve common messaging on identification, prevention, reporting, and management through public communication, community polls, educating and encouraging homeowners to manage the species on their own properties. Scoring is here below. Average score was 4.2, environmental sustainability 4.5, community impact 4.2, financial analysis 3.5, project innovation 4.5, and their percentage was 83%. And here are the comments that we received. Again, some are in support of full funding. Some are recommending, lesser funding, specifically not including the New North gift cards, partial funding as well as it relates to printing. Speaking to sometimes people can get a bunch of printouts, just recycle them, possibly some guidebooks. So those are the comments received. Again, they are asking for, just going to scroll up here so we can see everything, $6,416.19. Donna, over to you to initiate any dialogue.
Thank you, Emily. Does anyone have questions about this application? Seeing none. Does anyone have comments or further comments or want to lean into some of the comments that you're seeing here, keeping in mind again for the public that if you didn't write the comment, this will be the first time you're actually seeing that comment. So anybody want to dive into any of these member comments? Go ahead, Mark.
So I can start. First off, I will say to Emily, I appreciate you fixing my spelling mistakes, because what I submitted late a couple nights ago probably wasn't always the best. But so I was in the same. I was making mention that my concern with this is, it's part two. We funded part one. We fund part two. What happens when we don't fund part three? Or what happens, if we cut this off? Does that mean it's not going anywhere, and we're partially completed a project? That's my concern, is that when there's a sole source or single source of funding for some of this stuff that's a multi-phase type of thing, what happens when funding is gone and the project just kind of dies out in whatever state it is. So I echoed kind of the same comments about partial funding, some of the stuff, the New North gift cards, some of the printing, what are they going to the printers to ask for, breaks on some of those prices and things like that. So I believe it's much like the comments that I've made in the past too about the similar projects.
Thanks, Mark. Anyone else? Emily, are you able to, based on Mark's comments, are you able to easily separate? So of the $6,416, I'm rounding, I know. Can you, what is the portion for the New North gift cards and the printing costs? What does that come to, each of those individually?
So I just want to make a comment here. There's an error on here. They actually asked for, just want to double check here. They actually asked, their grand total was $4,563.57. So
Okay.
sorry about that. I
Okay.
have their application open here. So I do have their budget as well open. So if we were, so the New North gift cards, they were looking for 2 of those valued at $150 each. So that's 300. And then if the printing and postage for the mail out, which was noted here, was $813.85. So if we were to remove that from their total ask, the ask is revised to $3,449.72. And
Okay.
I mean, we've had to kind of put Nordic on a shelf here, but I've been trying to keep track. What I'm planning to do is keep track of, depending on what we agree to commit to, like what's that going to do to our overall budget for the year. So because it's an unknown with the Nordic, I might keep that at, I'll keep that blank for now. But right now we're in the negative 1,800 if we fully fund everyone. So if our project, this will clear up approximately $2,000.
Okay, Corey.
Yeah, my comment is the one not recommending the New North gift cards funding. I also shared the concern of Mark in terms of at what point does this become an operational dependency for this event? And so I think I mean the application was just so well done and scored so highly that again, it's not in the rubric for us to judge that piece, but I wonder, you know, is there a question that we can ask, or like how do you stop it being something that they rely on every year? Similar to that recent application with the Sioux Fire that we had last year, right? So yeah, just food for thought.
Thanks, Tori. Anything else, Tori? Or no? Andre?
Yes, I just want to that I agree that funding gift cards I don't support that simply because I believe that people who participate in these kind of events certainly don't do it in order to win a gift card, and to me, it's not a real good use of our funds. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Andre. Andrew?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, no, so I'm just like I supported this project. Just with respect to the about like the ongoing funding that's required. I think like my feeling is like that argument can kind of be made for like everything. Like everything requires ongoing funding. The Himalayan balsam project, or like the Himalayan balsam is obviously an issue in terms of invasive species. But like, yeah, I don't see how a project that like every project, no matter what, is going to require ongoing funding. If we look at, for example, like the stuff around electric vehicles or like electrification, like those they require ongoing funding. Those things are spent after, over a certain number of years. So to me, I think identifying a project as having like multiple tiers is wise, because it actually shows that there's forethought in the project. So it's just kind of like my comment. I support this project fully.
Okay, thank you. All right. So with those comments in mind, I think relevant to the question about ongoing funding, I think that you know, our hope is that this fund is used to help people get something going that hasn't been able to or hasn't happened in the past, and that after a period of time, whatever that period of time might be, that as Tori mentioned, that these types of things get operationalized and they become something that doesn't require this special project funding. I think that that's the goal. However, I have one question I want to ask everyone here now. So I'm hearing some people say, yes, we should fund it as is, but I think I'm hearing more people say there's concerns about the gift card portion and perhaps the printing portion. And that would reduce the I won't say that, but let's just say, can I just get a sense, please, if people are more in favor of moving ahead minus the gift cards and the printing costs? Could I get some indication there, or versus being fully funded? Mark?
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, that's where I was going in terms of funding. You know, I don't disagree from Andrew's standpoint. Like, that makes sense. Like, you know, I don't mind funding this stuff, and that's part of it. But some of the other stuff, some of the things that we're including, maybe we should be holding back on, say, the gift cards and things like that. From a operational, if they can do the program from our sponsorship plus maybe some other ones for some of the other stuff to continue going, then I have no issue with that. It's just
Okay.
I worry that, you know, next year if they don't get it in time, what's going to happen, or you know, down the road type of thing. So that's all I was trying to point out.
Thank you, Mark. Anyone else want to, if I could just get a sense? I'm feeling that there's more support behind the partial funding with the removal of the printing and the gift cards. But if anybody is, you know, vehemently opposed to that, And I'm not seeing anybody say that.
I'm
Okay.
convinced by what people have said in the committee that that's the way to go.
Okay, thank you, Eric. I appreciate it when you all give your comments. It's very helpful to understanding support. So Emily, we can make for our notes there under invasive species center, that amount of 3,449.72 that you gave us.
Okay.
Let's move on to the third project.
Okay. Sorry, I see something here in the chat. Okay, so the third project came from the Sioux Climate Hub, local grassroots organization for a project called Little Forest. They're asking for $5,280.44. They're looking to partner with the Algoma District School Board for a project at Eastview School. It's a citizen and school community-led urban afforestation on ADSB property by converting unused and underutilized lands, rewilding them with native trees and plants. They've explained that little forests are collaborations between plants, soil, organisms, climate, geology, land, and people. They're an approach to rapidly regenerating Indigenous forests, human communities who help the land. By restoring deforested land to be layered and diverse Indigenous forest communities that once covered this land. Drawing inspiration from nature, our approach to planting forest introduces all the elements present in healthy forest ecosystems, from the canopy of the tallest trees down to the underground city populating the soil and all layers in between. It promotes a shift from planting trees from ornamental landscapes to planting forests as flourishing biodiverse ecosystems. The approach is inspired by Dr. Akira Miyawaki, who has overseen the planting of more than 30 million trees in over 1,600 locations around the world. Miyawaki's forest condensed the typical time it takes to create a forest from 150 years into 15 to 20 years. And Little Forest Kingston has been undertaking this method successfully, as well as other cities in Ontario. It's a 3-phase project, starting with preparing the forest floor this year. Spring of next year, the soil will be ready for planting, and then they'll partner with volunteers to get the plants into the ground. And then over the next 2 to 3 years, they'll select stewards to be tasked with maintaining the new plantings until it's well established and thriving. Environmental sustainability score 4.2, community impact 4.3, financial analysis 3.7, project collaboration 4.3, 83% score and overall average of 4.1. Comments are below, some recommending funding, full funding, noting that the comments about carbon sequestration are in the application should be evaluated for mature trees, not small. And comment here about no mention of other sources of funding. Again, what we're seeing a bit repetitively here, if we fund this year, what happens in subsequent years. So that might be more of a process thing for us, just putting a note out there into the universe that we need to look at our application process again to have a section talking about that. Okay, so Donna, over to you for discussion.
Thank you. All right, anyone with questions about this application? Seeing none. Anyone like to share additional comments or comment on any of the content in the comments here? Not seeing anyone. Okay, Mark.
Sorry, and I was trying not to be the difficult one here, but so I was the one that again made this comment about we're funding phase 1, and if we don't fund phase 2, what happens to all the work done here? So you're kind of just out this money with nothing moving forward. So my concern here is we should have maybe put a mechanism like Emily was saying in place, or maybe they should have put something in the application to say, hey, 2025, here's the costs. so that we're aware of it and maybe we agree to fund it again, and so that next year, if they come in late per se in Q2 or Q3 and asking for the money and there's none left, they're kind of out of luck type of deal. So that was my concern with that. I said in my comments to Emily about, this is a straightforward, good application. They're asking for just the materials, everything to do what they need to do, and nothing else. So I have no issues funding it. My concern is what happens next year. What happens down the road, that we're funding stuff that, could not or maybe not get completed because we don't have the funds to support them for the following year.
Thanks, Mark. Anybody else? Andre?
Sorry. What I find interesting is that I think the Board of Education themselves need to be more conscious of the importance of forest, because of what I see what they did at Terran Taurus, where they had basically probably half the property was wooded and forested. It wasn't a particularly healthy forest, but they basically cut it all down. And I'm not sure what the rationale was. So I just hope that this project can raise awareness to decision makers at the higher levels to see the importance of trees and forests in the community. So I hope that happens. But I think this is an awesome project, and I think we should support it.
Thank you, Andre. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone else. Therefore, looks like that has a very good support from the committee to be fully funded. Emily, moving on to project number, we are at the Clean North project.
Okay, so Clean North applied for their food cycler project. They're asking for $8,609.86. They are requesting funding for the food cycler pilot project to purchase 75 food cyclers, which are countertop composters that make it easier for residents and businesses to reduce food waste. Food Cycler has run many municipal programs and work with municipalities, schools, and nonprofits across Canada. The funding that Clean North is requesting will offset the cost to individuals at a highly reduced cost with $100 per unit subsidy. Local advertising will also be used from the funding, as well as the creation of a home compost collection point. So those are the bin costs at Harvest Algoma for owners to bring processed compost if they desire. From an environmental sustainability standpoint, they scored a 3.3, community impact 3.5, financial analysis 3.8, and project innovation 3.8 as well, percentage of 73%, an overall project average of 3.6. Here are their comments. One comment was no funding. Another one seems like a great initiative. Again, what happens when the funding expires? A couple of questions. I also wonder if there's a long-term vision for larger subsidy and distribution of this product, and if there is a financial gain of any of the individuals involved in the sale of the product. Is anyone interested in it? Overall, I recommend it. Neither of these people project files were able to open. Yeah, so I did reshare those project files. Those were the past grant applications. Hopefully folks were able to review them. Clean North, just as a reminder, has applied to the Green Initiatives Fund for 2 projects in the past, and they applied for soil for community gardens and shipping cost for recycling of prescription bottles. And they also applied for funding last year for moving and planting trees at the addiction rehabilitation facility. No funding recommended. In another comment here, concerns about the units being sold to individual homes. Difficult to get a broader community benefit. Would be more compelling to purchase one or demo with a partner or local business. They mentioned themselves it would be challenging to scale from pilot to larger initiative. Why this specific technology? It would be nice to see some research on other alternatives to understand the price point as well, more education. One recommending for funding here, full funding, good pilot project. The money is just to incentivize the program and efforts made to not add extra cost. Donna, over to you for comments and discussion.
Okay. Anyone with questions? Andre, is that a question that you have? Go
Yes.
ahead.
My question, maybe Emily can answer this. What's the status of the city's composting? I understand that they're moving forward on a citywide composting project. What's the status of that? Do you know?
Yeah, I haven't received an update in a while, but per the provincial direction, our community has the population threshold to require a curbside organics collection program come 2025. That is the deadline that the province has created. I haven't received any updates recently, but it's also going to be contingent on the processing facility, which I know the city's engineering and public works department is kind of working on simultaneously. So it's my understanding that it's 2025 per the province regulations, but there's a couple of other factors at play as well.
Thank you.
I can look into that.
Thank you, Andre. Yes, that actually was my question as well. Tori.
Yeah, so my comment was the very long-winded comment there that has a lot of questions in it. And I feel like, you know, the technology question, questions about a pilot, that those would be good for me to hear from them directly in terms of how I feel about the overall application. So just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Anyone else with questions? Okay. Anyone with, I'm getting the feeling, but let's see here. I'm getting the feeling, Emily, like we need more information. Okay. Does anyone, so is anyone opposed to, again, setting this aside for more information around the questions that Tori had, the questions around the whole, around composting in the community in 2025, what's happening there? Andre?
Just a comment. I'm the one who put the comment. I did go on YouTube and, you know, did a little research on this particular product, and it was very interesting to talk to people who have used this particular product for a year or two, and it's definitely has issues, and it's not a perfect solution. And also, I'm also concerned at the fact that what happens to the machines when they're not used anymore, or they end up in the landfill. I mean, we've been composting in my family for decades, and there's no fancy machines or anything. It's a pretty automatic process. And I'm also in Kingston, and I'm seeing how their community composting works here, and it's very successful. And I know that composting diverts a lot of waste, and I think it's worthwhile to pursue it, but I'm not convinced that this is the way to do it. I think there's more effective ways to get the community to embrace composting for those who are hesitating.
One, I'll just add into what Andre said, and then we're going to move on to the next application because it sounds like we certainly need some more information. One of the things that using a food cycler or units like this can do is for folks who are living in limited space or apartments, etc. It does give them an opportunity to really easily be able to compost. That's can be very helpful. For that purpose. Moving on, we are going to the Sioux Search and Rescue Project.
Sorry, Donna, I think Mark had a question.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Mark. My apologies.
Sorry, and I was trying to figure out how to raise my hand here. I should learn how to do that in Zoom. Too used to using Teams here. But So I had made the comment that I thought this was a very good project, simply because in your comments that were made for people who are not able to compost outside their houses or outside in their backyards. As somebody who came from a community that had the green or waste diversion to pick up from food, it does have its benefits and its negatives. So I felt that this was a good project for people who don't compost at home or didn't want to participate in that program. It made a very good use case for that. From my standpoint, you could actually scale this up to a full-size incentive program very easily through the city or somebody like that. It would be no different than you see other communities doing, incentive for rain barrels or incentives for storm gardens. I forget what they're called. Excuse my terminology here, but you start to see some of those community programs going on. There's no different than, you could incentivize that this exact same way. I guess the same way you can give away incentives for compost machines for in your backyard or things like that. So it would be, from my opinion, it would be very easy to scale this up from a pilot to say something full time. So that's why I said, in my opinion, I would support this, and I thought it was a good
Okay.
project.
Okay, thanks, Mark. All right,
I'd
Emily,
just like to add one piece to what Mark is saying. Clean North does do rain barrel sales in Sault Ste. Marie. I don't know if they do rain garden. I don't believe they do, but they do sell rain barrels and composters, like just the ones that are made from like those plastic reused. So they have a history and an experience of running those programs. So just wanted to add that.
Thanks. Okay, we're moving on to the Sioux Search and Rescue e-bike project.
Okay, so just to confirm, we're pulling this one for more information.
Yes, we are, for more information. Yep, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so Sioux Search and Rescue have applied for an e-bike project. They're asking for $17,572.50. This is to purchase 2 e-bikes as well as the associated equipment, trailers to support their search and rescue efforts in terrain that is less accessible for ATVs with zero emission vehicles. For environmental sustainability, they scored 3.2, community impact 3.8, financial analysis 3.5, and project innovation 3.0, percentage of 80%, and 3.6 average score. Some of the comments, full funding from one, another, the information related to the financials for this project are not available to me. So I did reshare that with everyone. My feeling is that given the size of this expense, I would recommend 1 e-bike, not 2, which is this single application requires like a third of the budget. I think the justification is somewhat skewed and the environmental impact minimal. Doesn't consider environmental impact of producing the bike, nor the depreciation over time. Another one recommends we suggest funding for 1 instead of 2. There is a cost breakdown in the quote that was reshared with everyone, questioning whether the trailers were necessary. Innovative project to support off-road decarbonization. No cost identified for promotional activities like city logo, stickers, materials identified in the proposal. Half funding again. Good project, just asking for equipment with the remaining volunteer hours. Donna, over to you for comments and discussion.
Thank you. All right, anybody with questions about this application? Seeing no questions. Would anybody like to comment on this application? Andre.
We just had an event with this weekend, and the Sioux Search and Rescue were there in full force. It was a gravel race, and I know that what's going on in the community with all the development of the new trails up at Hiawatha, there's been a few issues where cyclists had crashed and they had to have EMS reach out. And I know that the cycling club is working on a communication strategy to help locate and access people who are injured. I think that having an e-mountain bike would improve their ability to do that for search and rescue. But I also believe that it's a lot of money, and I don't think we should fund two, but just one.
Thank you, Andre. Anyone else want to comment?
Yeah, maybe I can make a comment.
Thank you, Andrew. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I seconded that. I believe that yeah, understanding the need, yeah, and that just this single application represents a huge portion of a small budget that we have, and that, you know, we're debating about planting trees versus buying an e-bike, and so, or two e-bikes, and I don't know, I just could see people going on joyrides like with e-bikes, and not that that's what it'd be used for, but that's just where my mind went. And I could see the use for one. I know that they do have a like a four-wheeler there on site as well, so yeah, I don't support two. I it's a stretch to support one for me, but I get the need. So yeah, to me, it just goes back into hand in hand with this whole like idea of that electric vehicles somehow are an environmental, saving the environment, and I just that's it. That argument is a big stretch for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Andrew. Anyone else with a comment? I am getting the feeling that there would be support to fund one e-bike, not two. If I'm reading that wrong, could somebody jump in and tell me otherwise? Either don't fund at all or both should be funded. Mark, and then Eric.
Sorry, I was just curious, and actually maybe Andre knows already. When they go out, do they go out in pairs or as a single? Is that how do they normally do? Is that why they're asking for two? Is that they go out in pairs?
This was exactly my question too.
Yeah.
So
maybe I can.
Andre,
yeah.
Can you help us with that? Yeah.
I typically the four-wheelers. The problem with the four-wheelers, they have their backup and they communicate extremely well. So that there's a very this search and rescue is a very well-oiled machine, and the e-bike would allow the first person to get in there. And what's happening here in the Sud, our trail system, is generally the four-wheeler can get pretty close to most trails, but the e-bike would allow them to get to the target a lot quicker and get to that first. So you know that there's the person who would be second would be close. The other thing that happens, there's a lot of people cycling out there, and there's always people around. And I have an e-bike with a trailer like they're asking for, and I have my normal mountain bike, and I think that they don't need to, because they can either have a regular mountain bike and they can access the trails pretty quickly, and their four-wheelers and their stretcher that they have, like the e-bike would not be expected to pull somebody out on a stretcher. So the four-wheeler would have to get in there with their pulling their machine. So I think they don't know how much they're going to use those e-bikes. I think they have a vision of how it's going to happen. I believe that it's going to be helpful to them, but I think it's a lot of money, and I don't think they need two, because they work very well, and there's a lot of the team coordination that goes on. So it's going to help them a bit, but it's not going to be the make and break. So that's why I think one is good to see how it works for them.
Okay, so are people, I have lost my screen, here it is. Are people looking for clarification on two, or are we comfortable with the information that we have that sounds like that we would consider funding one?
Yeah, so I put like that big long comment. And I think that if we're going to ask for more information from some of these other like really strictly environmental projects, that I think we should really ask them to consider this as well, because I feel like as a committee we're sort of one-sided when it comes to electrification. We're sort of treating it as, oh, that's a great thing. And as far as I've seen in my time being with the committee, and I think that, you know, if we go back to some of the conversations that we had, that this organization, I get the argument about 1 versus 2, but I think that we need more information about the environmental impact of this particular project, like, because that's what we are, right? We're environmental sustainability. This is about getting into a place faster and quicker. They also said they have like, I don't know how many hundreds of volunteers, and how many of them have like just a dirt bike that could just as easily, with, you know, a little tank of gas, and those things get like 500 kilometers per tank, at like $12 per tank, right in there. People already have them. So to me, this is a stretch as an environmental impact. And until we have some numbers, like what is the depreciation of the bike over time, and I definitely don't support 2. What is the environmental impact? What is the time that it takes to charge, the costs associated? How do we know that, you know, one accident happens and then the bike's on charge and it's not charged, and then another accident happens and that bike becomes useless, but somebody with gas bike works just as well, could get in there, that might be from 1970. So to me, this does not align for me with an environmental sustainability. It's more of like, I don't know, updating equipment to be electric, and making, like, kind of stretching that it's somehow related to the environment. That's my opinion.
Okay.
I definitely.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, right.
Thank you. Okay, so we can go back to search and rescue to ask 2 questions. Are they able to use 1 bike? You know, are 2 required, as in people go in partners? And Emily, is there further clarification? I'm just not remembering right now, in the application with regards to environmental impact, or is that something we need to go back and ask them to calculate?
It's in there. It's in there.
Okay.
They've noted, so search and rescue final application. I'm just scrolling through it. Bear with me. Okay, so in the objective section of their application, they're stating the primary objective is to reduce search and rescue's carbon footprint while conducting ground searches in the naturally forested areas in and around the city of Sault Ste. Marie and responding to natural disasters. And they've added some information in here. They don't have a source, but they're stating, we recognize that for every 10 gallons of gas that is not consumed, we save approximately 0.089 metric tons of CO2 emissions. So we've, you know, it is noted in there. I'm just going to go and look at their environmental section of the application as well. Project aligns with the city's goals of reducing carbon emissions, promoting sustainable transportation options. The adoption of e-bikes supports initiatives aimed at encouraging active transportation, contributing to a healthier and more environmentally friendly community. Integrating e-bikes into search and rescue operations enhances the city's emergency preparedness and resilience strategies, aligning with the broader initiative focused on community safety and well-being. So the components of that section are like description of how the project achieves environmental sustainability. So they do speak to that in their application.
Okay, so we do have the answer to, sorry, go ahead, Emily. And
I will say, like, I mean, kind of like what we were doing, like, it's our discretion to say yes or no to some, like, not mine, but the committee's discretion. Like, we're pulling things from, you know, the Invasive Species Center. Like, if the committee is overall on board to cut it down to 1 bike, like, that's the decision of the committee. I don't think like, it's not like we're asking the other applicants, hey, is it okay if we cut down, you know, a gift card as part of their project scope? Those are just my 2
Thank you.
cents.
Thank you. Mark?
Yeah, so I think to Andrew's point, I think if we can search or look for, I guess, life cycle emissions for said bike, I think that's a little bit more of the question that he was asking. So if we can find, I mean, we can do it for cars. I just don't know, can we find it for the same, similar for a bike, say, so the life cycle emission costs, to compare that.
So just to be clear, that's not a requirement in the application process at this time.
No, it's not a requirement, but like, I mean, if
But we're learning things throughout this process, right?
Yeah,
Like we're
and-
thinking we should have like, what's the long-term goal? If you're going to come back to us for more money, have a better plan. You know, so perhaps that's something we should consider as well. It's
Yeah.
just, it can be, it's not impossible, but when we were discussing this last year with revising the application process, you know, when you've got people whose primary role in this of their business or operations is not emissions, like it can be, you know, we may need to develop that process for them.
I'm concerned. I just want to, I want to move on so that we can cover all of the applications today. I just need to get a sense of, is everyone comfortable offering or in our notes at this point to look at one bike, or are we looking for information, further information? Can I get a sense of where everybody's at? Further
I mean, I'm
information.
fine with
We can't go
supporting-
back and we can't, for clarity.
fine with
I don't think we
supporting
can
one
go
bike.
back. Okay,
Like,
thank you, Andrew.
personally, but in terms of like us moving forward, like this committee moving forward, I think that with respect to especially this area, which is causing me some concern, with just sort of funding electrification as an environmental plus, like I think we really need to think about that and our standards. And I know that we don't really have, that's come up multiple times. I brought it up multiple times, but in terms of moving forward, like we're getting these applications, you know, versus planting 1,000 trees, to me, you know, they're not even asking for the same amount versus one electric bike. And like, I don't think those are even equatable, but the way that they're argued, I mean, they sound like a really lot of nice words, but specifically in terms of carbon sequestration, if that's our measure, which it's really not, then, you know, it's a stretch for me to continue to support the electrification of vehicles as an environmental sustainability effort. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Anybody else? Are we good with one bike, or are we looking for more information, or we're setting this aside for now? I'm not.
I'm okay with one bike.
One bike's good.
All right.
So one
Anybody
bike
else?
is
So, okay.
$8,762.50. That's what this project would.
Okay.
Fine.
Can you put that in the spreadsheet, or Emily, in our notes, I should say?
Yep. In my notes.
And
Yep.
let's move on to the museum project.
Okay. So application number 6, the Sault Ste. Marie Museum project request is for LED lighting, asking $1,971.71. They are looking for funding to complete the full LED conversion of their facility. Monies were not available in their operating budget request to the city for the 2024 budget. Project scored 3.5 under environmental sustainability, 2.3 under community impact, 3.8 under financial analysis and 2.5 under project innovation. Score was 61%, and average score of 3. Some of the comments were no funding, good use of funds, suggest offering 50% of funding, so $985.86. Full funding, is there potential to report on this? Could be a good example to show reduction in energy use. Another comment, can't turn down a good lighting project. Over to you, Donna, for discussion.
Thank you, Emily. Anyone with questions? Seeing none. Anyone with comments? It seems that we're a little bit all over the map here, which everywhere from some people saying no, some people saying yes, 100%, some people saying offer half.
So
Anybody
Donna,
else?
hi.
Thank you.
I was the 50% suggestion, just because I felt like, you know, is there an opportunity for further partnership, this being a city agency? It's a good project. It was well written. It's lacking in I think I gave it a very low score for the project innovation and collaboration section. That's what weighed it down for me. So if given we're strapped for funding, my 50% was a suggestion to spread the money around a bit.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So that without here, so that still stands, it sounds to me, at full funding of the $1,971. Anybody vehemently oppose? Anybody that, you know, as I said, we were all over the map there. So that's where I'm going to set that unless I hear very differently. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the Fish and Game Club.
Okay. So Algoma Fish and Game Club has applied for a project, invasive species signs and solar generator. They're looking for signage regarding invasive species to be put up at the Bellevue Marina, specifically 4 signs to prevent invasive species, as well as a solar generator to power their events. Score summary, environmental sustainability 3, same for community impact and financials, 2.7 for project innovation, 58% score and 3.0 average. Some of the comments, partial funding just for signage. To me, this is 2 applications. It's not clear if this is 2 phases of the project or connected. The signs are a great idea, but it does seem to me something that should be done by the province other than funding an application for a small environmental budget. Solar generator does not seem to be connected. I support the sign installation, but not the generator. I think they should be encouraged to separate these applications. Recommend funding of $885.92, just again for the signage. Due to lack of community awareness plan and utility of generator to support events. Part funding, the only thing missing is the extent of the program. I'm guessing there's a large issue at the Bellevue Marina, and that's why this is being proposed. It seems that this is 2 proposals, one for signage and one for the generator. They're not related. I support the signage, would need more info about the generator. How often did they use it? How is it used? 1 comment for full funding and 1 not really a project I would support. Solar seems to be an add-on, and the posters should be something should be suggested something more durable and longer lasting. Donna, over to you for comment.
Thank you. Anyone with questions? Seeing none. I am interpreting these comments to say that there is support to fund the signage at the Bellevue Marina, but a lot of questions and not necessarily support to fund the solar portion. I would ask for comments, further comments there, please, to that. No one is disagreeing with me with my summary there. Am I understanding that by no comments to understand that there is no objection to funding the signage portion only? Is that what am I picking up what you're putting down? Nobody's telling me no.
Tori
So,
has her
and,
hand up. Oh, maybe
thank
she's
you.
just thumbs up. Okay, sorry.
I have a, is that a thumbs up?
Thumbs up. That's a thumbs
Okay,
up. Oh,
fantastic.
Andrew has
All
his
right.
hand up.
Thank you, Andrew, for sharing that as well. So Emily, what does that make that amount?
That makes that one $885.92. Andrew, did you have a question or were you just
It was
support?
more just a comment, like
Okay.
in reading that, I like it seems like everybody's kind of on the same page, which is great. And in terms of seeing this as like kind of like two applications, but in terms of the signs, the last comment, like in reading this, I never really got into the depth and the breadth of the signage. So it's obviously somebody read that more clearly, and if they're suggesting that the signs be more durable and long lasting, I think that's something that we should consider, that, you know, if we're going to give $1,000 for some 4 signs in one area, that they should last. Like, I don't know how long they're suggested to last, and maybe somebody can comment at that, but maybe that's where we could go back to them to kind of bolster their funding to make it, because I just made a sign for the university. It's going to last like, you know, 30 years.
I do believe it's not just like a piece of paper. I'm trying to find the notes. Like it's made out of, I don't know if it says so in the application, like the specifics, but I think it's like some kind of a metal. I'm just trying to find that here. Like
I think, Emily, am I correct in understanding the poster is not, the reference to poster is not the sign? Or is that reference to poster in that comment the actual sign?
So I'm not sure, but to clarify what, like, I'm not sure. I think that whomever wrote that was referring to the sign.
Okay.
But and that's what this is. This is not a poster project. This would be I can't, I'm trying to find the dimensions here. I just want to pop open the application real quick.
While you're doing that, I see Mark.
I'll go my fishing game.
Go ahead, Mark.
As the person who made that comment, yes, I was referring to the signs, and
okay.
Maybe it's my bad that I incorrectly read it. But I guess to my point that I was trying to make was, yeah, you know, we install these, we pay for these signs to put up, you know, we would hope that they would last more than a year or two. You know, to Andrew's point, it's, yeah, you make a sign that it's going to last 30 years so that you're not replacing it every 5 years, or you're not finding bits and pieces of it scattered across a parking lot or a field within a year or two, type of thing.
So I don't have the material, but I know that as the one who reached out to the city sign division to get the quote from the city staff to install, like it's a metal material that has to be drilled to a post. I don't know the name of that material offhand. I can't find it. But that should last.
Yeah.
Okay. So that gets us to the final application, which is the Sioux Naturalists Trail Cam project. Go ahead, Em.
Okay. So Sioux Nats applied for money for a trail cam project. They're looking for $1,432.82 for trail cams, SD cards, and batteries. This project is funding us to help count and monitor stray cat counting in Sault Ste. Marie to support the city's planned application to Nature Canada to be a bird-friendly city. Under environmental sustainability, they scored a 3, community impact 2.5, 3, financial analysis 3, project innovation 2.8, 57% score, and 2.7 overall average. Comments, no funding, very interesting idea. I don't see the connection to this program to the mission of environmental sustainability. It's not made clear how counting feral cats will lead to more birds, nor have they shown adequately what action would be taken by understanding that number. $0, what does the Sioux gain by this designation? Grant access, not sure that the environmental and community benefits resonate as strongly as other projects. If this is a city-led initiative, the city should provide some support beyond the fund. I do not recommend funding. Full funding, good awareness, low costs. While a little light on what I would consider an impactful project, the funding amount is for just the units and the volunteers are doing the work. Donna, over to you for comments.
Okay. Anyone with questions? I think it was fairly self-explanatory. Seeing none. So in the comments, it would appear that, and you can tell also by the scoring. So this project did not score. Which scored just over half on the average. Not looking very like there's a lot of support for funding this project on a general basis by the committee, but I would ask for comments. Tell me if I'm misinterpreting that. I'm seeing this would not be funded. However, what comments does anyone have relevant to that, to the project itself, and or my interpretation of the support? No one is telling me otherwise. So I'm starting to learn how to read faces here. So I am getting the impression, I am going to say this is not being recommended for support. I'm going to say that one more time. I am not
Donna,
incorrect about.
Can I just make one quick comment?
Yes, Andrew.
I would just say that I feel like the limitation of this application is really in the writing of it. Like it was kind of like, I feel like it was poorly written, and I feel like this could be one that you could go back. I do like, I can't make the connection based on what was written, but I can see the point, right? Like feral cats, I know cause massive devastation to the bird population. That's part of the whole ecosystem, etc. But I think that maybe this is one we could go back to them, and maybe Emily could support the writing of it a little bit better, try to understand what is the goal here. Like, you're going to count the cats, you're going to start killing the feral cats. Like, that's what I saw is happening next. And then I was like, I don't want to support a project that, oh, it was all funded by the Environmental Sustainability Committee, and now like they're, euthanizing a bunch of cats. Like, what are you going to do if you find out there's 1,000 loose cats on the streets? And so that's where I was kind of like, maybe we could go back and really try to understand. I think there is some merit to this, but the way that it was written was just not, it was just too weak.
Okay, thanks for sharing that, Andrew. All right, so anything further? If not, Emily, I'm going to say that project at this time anyways, would not receive any funding.
Okay.
That takes us to the end of our group of 8 projects. Emily, so now we need to summarize and approve what we can approve today. Emily, yes?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. All right.
So you've got the draft resolution there.
I do. And from my notes that I took as we went along here, 1 second. Okay, so I'm just going to, for the purposes, because I need to ask for a mover and a seconder, but I just want to fill in the ones that we are going to create as part of this so that there's clarity when I ask for a mover and a seconder. So I believe that we are looking at $3,449.72 for Invasive Species Center.
Correct.
I believe that we are looking at $885, and I want to say 92 cents for the Algoma Fish and Game Club.
885.92, yep.
I believe that we are looking at the full funding for the museum, which I didn't write the number down. It was 1,400, I believe, something.
$1,971.71.
Okay, hold on. 9. Okay, hold on. Just a minute. I should have done this differently.
I do have it all written, but let's keep going.
That's okay. And then the one bike for Sioux Search and Rescue was what was the amount, Emily?
That was 8,700. Oops, sorry, $8,786.25.
Okay. And I believe that those are the 4 that we are about to vote on today. Oh, and the Little Forest,
And the Little Forest.
Sioux Climate Hub. How much was that one?
The Sioux Climate Hub was $5,280.44.
Okay, this was nothing here. This
5,280.
was, what was the museum again? Oh, what was the museum again? I'm sorry.
$1,971.71. Sioux Search and
Okay.
Rescue.
So
Sorry,
for
Sioux Search and Rescue to confirm was 8,786.25. You got that?
That's what I've got. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So this, I am looking for a mover and a seconder to fund the Invasive Species Center project at $3,449.72, the Sioux Climate Hub Little Forest project at $5,280.44, the Sioux Search and Rescue project at $8,786.25, the museum project at $1,971.71, and the Algoma Fish and Game Club project at $885.92. Do I have a mover and a seconder?
I hate to do
Thank
this,
you,
at the
Mark.
last minute, but I have to say that if we're gonna fund the e-bike project at 50% and it's bringing us down to around $8,000, maybe we're being putting a bit too much scrutiny on the shoreline project that ranked so high, and it's less money.
So I need a motion to get on the table the conversation about the resolution. And then I'm going to bring up the projects that we didn't deal with yet and clarify them. So
Okay.
do I have a seconder to support the motion? I know I have Mark to move. Okay, thank you, Eric. So I have moved by Mark. Okay, now we can have a conversation about the projects that we have not. Let's go now and clarify that. I'm going to go backwards up the list.
So two were pulled for more
that's
comment.
Yeah. Right. So the Nordic project is for more comment.
Yeah, we had some questions. There were questions that the group wanted to ask Nordic.
Okay.
But Eric,
go ahead.
Eric has brought forward, given the, like how they scored in comparison to the e-bike, which scored lower. Are we scrutinizing their costs more? I don't know if you want to elaborate on that more, Eric. Did I capture it correctly?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're worrying about funding them $7,500, but it scored really high. And there was a lot of criticism around the e-bike project, and we're giving them more money than that. So I just wonder if we really need to, I mean, in light of everybody's comments, I would be comfortable withdrawing my concern around the shoreline project and just funding it fully.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it speaks to like there's no limit on funding right now. And maybe that's something that we can look at towards the future, is that maybe we only ever can fund 80% of a project. And that even the applications have to have a limit, because I think we want to have more reach And then in this instance, it would be like, okay, they want to get an e-bike. Why are we paying the full price of an e-bike? Why is that not part of their budget and their vision and their planning? And so maybe they can say, you know, we can 50% of an e-bike I can see because they're funding the other 50%. 2 e-bikes, no. But in terms of, we'd have to change our parameters, I think, in order to kind of reach this. We don't have that yet. So anyways, that's my point.
Okay. So Eric is suggesting that we would go back to the Nordic project, and he's withdrawn his questions. I see Tori has noted that she's willing to support the Nordic project. That amount is $7,500. Could I get some consensus from others about proceeding there and adding it to the list? Is anyone opposed to that?
I'd be okay with putting
Okay.
it back.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Thank you. All right. Yes, Andrew can't weigh in on this because he has a conflict. So now, Emily, we have to separate these because so I'm going to leave Nordic out for right now. And remind me, please, Nairi is not here, so we don't have to worry about the e-bike project and her conflict. Is there any conflicts on the other 1, 2, 5 projects? The VC okay. All
Not
right.
including,
So then
the only other one was Nordic.
Okay, great. So now we're going to separate these approvals because of conflict. So I currently have a mover and a seconder, which is Mark and Eric. And be it resolved that the Environmental Sustainability Committee supports the request for funding from the Green Initiatives Program for the following projects and amounts. The Invasive Species Center, $3,449.72. The Sioux Climate Hub Little Forest, $5,280.44. The Sioux Search and Rescue e-bike project, $8,786.25. The Sault Ste. Marie Museum LED retrofit project, $1,971.71. The Algoma Fish and Game Club invasive species signs project, $885.92. So we can all vote on those, and all in favor, and I do need to see everybody, all in favor of those approvals. Andrew, thank you. That is carried. All right. So now, I need a mover and a seconder for the resolution to support the Nordic project. Could I have, and Andrew has a, thank you, Andrew. You can go ahead and depart. Thank you, Tori. Will move, Andre will second, and that is, be it resolved that the Environmental Sustainability Committee supports the request for funding to the Green Initiatives Program for the Nordic Institute Shoreline Creamlet Project in the amount of $7,500. All in favor? And that is carried.
Okay.
1:35.
Very good.
We did it.
So motion to adjourn, Donna. We'll skip the staff update. We'll talk about that in June.
We'll do it. And I'd like to get some feedback, but another time, from everyone on the new process. How did it work? What do we have? What comments do people have for improvement? Thank you, everybody, for your time today. I need a mover and a seconder to adjourn today's meeting. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Andre. All in favor? That is carried. Happy Thursday. We'll see you at the next meeting. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.